This is BBC Newsline. I'm Tara Mills. Tonight's headlines. A review into the murder of Katie Simpson exposes institutional misogyny within the police. It says an urgent cultural shift within the PSNI is needed.
There's too many women being abused and murdered. You know, this really can't go on. So it's key that there needs to be changes.
A judge has said he would be extremely disappointed if the trial of Sir Geoffrey Donaldson and his wife Lady Eleanor does not go ahead as planned in 3 weeks' time. 2 police officers are injured after being attacked during disorder in West Belfast last night. One of Northern Ireland's largest companies that delivers home care packages says it's likely it will have to pull out of rural areas as it's no longer cost-effective.
We're really at the stage now where we're not only looking off the edge of a cliff, but we're falling halfway down the cliff.
Why would a 22-year-old want to buy 2 Ulster buses?
It's the eve of Northern Ireland's largest outdoor sporting event, Motorcycling's Northwest 200. Join me live on the North Coast for all the latest.
And it's been a mainly dry start to the week with some sunshine developing through this afternoon. Will there be more tomorrow? I'll have your forecast shortly.
Hello and welcome to Tuesday's programme. This is Katie Simpson, the young show jumper coerced and killed by Jonathan Cresswell. At first, the PSNI treated her death as suicide, and today a report into the failures in the investigation was published. It found a culture of misogyny in the PSNI. It also found that not one officer seriously thought about abuse or control being a factor in her death, that Katie's lived experience was disregarded and clear warning signs were ignored. The report recommends that an urgent cultural shift within the police is needed. The report also said that 37 other victims of Cresswell had come forward to disclose that he'd abused them. At a news conference, the PSNI said their failings were clear, and for that they are truly sorry. Here's Kelly Bonner.
Katie Simpson's death was initially treated as suicide by police, but the 21-year-old hadn't taken her own life, despite what the man charged with her murder told police. This report today shows that Katie was failed on many levels by the PSNI. Profound failures, a culture of misogyny and complacency, which meant that this man, the man charged with murdering the 21-year-old, wasn't arrested until 7 months after her death.
The feelings are clear. We fell well short, and for that I am truly sorry.
The police also didn't check Jonathan Cresswell's previous domestic abuse history, only accessing his driving offences. He took his own life 1 day after the trial began.
Women need to have confidence that when they go and they speak to the PSNI, that they will be listened to, that they will be heard, and that their case will be taken seriously. In terms of holding people to account, I set out very clearly in the chamber the changes that I hope to make in the short term, in terms of vetting, in terms of advisory and barred lists, in terms of ensuring that those who do retire from the PSNI are not able to do so with impunity.
The report said when police endorse misogyny, as they do here, risk to women escalates. Katie Simpson was let down at every step, and the report said that police inaction rendered her invisible, even in her own murder, allowing Cresswell to maintain control after her death.
It needs to be urgent. There's too many women being abused and murdered. You know, this really can't go on, so it's key that there needs to be changes very, very quickly.
37 other victims, including children as young as 9, have come forward to disclose sexual and physical abuse by Cresswell. Many of the victims, like Katie, were just starting off in the equestrian world. 2 other alleged sex offenders have also been identified by the PSNI within the equestrian industry, and the report said they may be currently operating.
I am concerned about that, very concerned. That's why we're again appealing today for people that have been impacted by this case to talk to us, to come forward. you will be listened to, you will be treated with empathy, respect and professionalism. So again, I would appeal to anyone that has been impacted by this case, who has evidence, who has information about this case, or indeed others involved in similar activity, to speak to our detectives in Public Protection Branch.
The review has found an urgent cultural shift within the PSNI is needed. Line after line in this 200-page report highlights the systematic and profound failures of the PSNI. This report shows that not one officer thought about control or abuse. Katie's experiences were disregarded, clear warning signs were missed and ignored, and police chose to believe Jonathan Cresswell. Ultimately, a culture of misogyny and complacency failed the 21-year-old. Kelly Bonner, BBC Newsline, at police headquarters in Belfast.
A judge has said he'll be extremely disappointed if the jury trial of Sir Geoffrey Donaldson and his wife, Lady Eleanor Donaldson, does not start as planned in 3 weeks' time. The former DUP leader and his wife deny a combined 23 charges related to historical sex abuse. Our crime and justice correspondent Julian O'Neill was at Newry Crown Court this morning, where a pre-trial review hearing took place.
The Donaldson's trial by jury is due to commence here at Newry Crown Court in just 3 weeks' time. The couple deny all the charges against them, which relate to offences allegedly committed between 1985 and 2008. They did not have to appear here in court this morning, at which there was another review hearing. Judge Paul Ramsey was told that 2 medical reports on Lady Donaldson have yet to be completed. These will now be considered at a hearing on the 19th of May, just 1 week before their trial is due to begin. Judge Ramsey said he is very firm on wanting the trial to go ahead as planned on the 26th of May, and that remains his expectation. He added he would be extremely disappointed if the trial did not commence on that date. He accepted that the public might be concerned by any delay, but he added there is genuine medical evidence to be considered at the next hearing. Julian O'Neill, BBC Newsline, Newry.
2 police officers were injured after they came under attack from crowds throwing stones and bottles in West Belfast last night. 5 police vehicles were also damaged following a gathering of cars and scrambler bikes in the Stewartstown Road area. The PSNI says some of those involved were engaged in dangerous driving. Michael Fitzpatrick reports.
This was the scene on the Stewartstown Road in West Belfast last night. Cars spun around on busy junctions while scrambler bikes sped up and down the main road during what was described as a so-called meet-up. The police say they responded to reports that large crowds of people and vehicles had gathered, with some driving dangerously in the area. Other motorists were caught up in the chaos, which politicians have described as disgraceful.
The police say they also came under attack from a large number of people with their faces covered, throwing stones and bottles. 2 officers were injured and a number of police vehicles were damaged. Fire crews were also attacked as they attempted to deal with a blaze which was started nearby.
The police said an evidence-gathering operation was in place and that an investigation is now underway to identify those involved.
Absolutely shocking, appalled, serious risk to life in terms of the activity up there last night. We were seeing people engaging in cars doing 360s in the middle of the road. We've seen young people attacking police. It has to be said as well, people coming from outside of West Belfast and getting involved in this activity last night, which was shocking.
The MP for West Belfast also condemned last night's scenes and has criticised the police response.
Community representatives as well as elected representatives contacted the police yesterday as well to say that they were made aware of this happening. Police were aware of it already, but yet there was no preventative measures put in place. That's wrong, and that has to be called out. So we will be meeting with the PSNI to ask what went wrong here last night, because this and these scenes were wrong. And we're very, very lucky today that no one is dead. I know of one person coming off a bike further on up this road last night as well.
The PSNI said it acknowledged local concern around last night's disorder and said it will continue to engage with representatives and residents in order to help prevent further instances of this behaviour. Michael Fitzpatrick, BBC Newsline, West Belfast.
Politicians in Londonderry have appealed for calm after more trouble last night at a nationalist and loyalist interface. Residents in the Fountain say young people threw missiles at their homes and cars. They've called for the frequent attacks to stop before someone is hurt. It follows an attack in the Waterside area at the weekend when police were petrol bombed by nationalists after a loyalist band parade. Here's our North West reporter, Kieran Turish.
Police were attacked in Naylor's Row, close to the interface with the Fountain last night. Residents in the Fountain say the nationalist youths also targeted their homes and cars, throwing missiles during the evening.
Certainly last night, a lot of people who were involved in the behaviour were young people. So we need to get the message out to them that there's more to life than this, that these are your neighbours, they're not your enemies.
The police say that following reports of antisocial behaviour and stone throwing in the Naylor's Row and Fountain last night, officers responded and spoke to a number of youths. They then dispersed. Police say they'd like to hear from anyone who can help with their inquiries to identify those responsible. The disturbances in the Fountain followed an attack on police on Friday night in the Waterside, when nationalists gathered near the interface with the loyalist Irish Street area as a band parade was passing through. They later threw petrol and paint bombs and heavy masonry at police.
What's happened on Friday night can only be described as blatant sectarianism. And it hurts me to say that, but what we've seen is young people from our community coming here with the sole purpose to stir up tensions and attack a parade was happening in a nearby community behind us.
The sectarianism has never been tackled. I've said it before, I've been saying it for years now. It's something that has to be tackled soon.
Community and political leaders have appealed for calm. Kieran Turish, BBC Newsline, Derry.
One of Northern Ireland's largest independent healthcare companies that delivers home care packages says it's likely it will have to pull out of rural areas as it's no longer cost effective. Connected Health says the failure of government to properly fund the sector means some services will be cut. Meanwhile, BBC News NI has learned that sickness days at the Southern Trust is costing the public purse over £2.5 million. Our health correspondent Mary-Louise Connolly reports.
With more older people than ever in Northern Ireland, demand for home care here is growing. In fact, over 2,600 people are awaiting support. But rising costs and pay disputes means independent healthcare companies who travel to rural areas are saying it's not financially viable and they're having to pull out.
Because of the funding environment, because of the crisis after crisis after crisis, we're really at the stage now where we're not only looking off the edge of a cliff, but we're falling halfway down the cliff. So I think there are lots of things we could do to improve, but we're just not doing them.
That concern has intensified after a leaked document seen by BBC News reveals plans by the Southern Trust to change how it delivers care. The Southern Trust's new policy means morning home care visits have been reduced from 30 to 20 minutes and lunch and tea times now just 15 minutes. Carers are told not to talk about saving money or to mention specific visit times or numbers to clients and to focus on a defined list of critical tasks. However, a Freedom of Information request also shows the Southern Trust has been struggling with care worker sickness, with more than 41,000 sickness days lost in 1 year, leading to 550 missed visits to clients and at a cost of more than £2.5 million. Also, the cost of the Trust to cover an hour of home care is almost double that of the independent sector, at around £40 compared to £21.
They're basically doing it to try and squeeze more people through the pot of money that they have. So, I mean, it will result in cramming calls, carers doing more calls during the day. And really, to be honest, we need to be treating our carers and the people that receive care in a much more compassionate, respectful and dignified way.
Funding social care has been a challenge for most ministers and earlier caused this exchange.
I'll go again. In terms of this, the problems within domiciliary care, is it your lack of decision making or the executive's lack of funding that is causing the problem?
I think the fact of an £800 million shortfall in our funding for 25-26 is a clue. Sorry, 26-27.
The Southern Trust says it's identifying new and better ways of working, and other health trusts are doing the same. Mary-Louise Connolly, BBC Newsline.
Sinn Féin has accused the DUP Communities Minister, Gordon Lyons, of trying to suppress the Irish language in a row over funding for a place name project. It was set up in the 1980s to research the origins and meanings of local place names across Northern Ireland. It's now been wound down after the money to keep it going ran out at the end of last month. Here's our political correspondent, Gareth Gordon.
For nearly 40 years, the Place Name Project has helped fund councils with dual language policies, including the translation of street names into Irish. For the past 3 years, the money has come from the Department of Finance, but from the 31st of March, it has fallen to the Department of Communities to pick up the bill. The project says it has now reached the end of its current funding period and is in the process of winding down its activities, leaving the DUP Communities Minister Gordon Lyons in the political firing line.
This is a minister who can spend over $700,000 for musical instruments for marching bands, a further $100,000 to cover bands' travel expenses, $425,000 for American independence celebrations, and $40,000 for Belfast Orange Fest. And the members across shamefully cheer that partisan funding allocations.
The minister denies doing anything wrong.
Over the last number of months, my officials have been in contact with the Department of Finance and have asked whether they were going to continue the funding, and they said they were not. That was a decision that was made in the Department of Finance. It wasn't one that was made in the Department for Communities, and it wasn't one that came across my desk. So when Sinn Féin say that it was a decision that I made, they are wrong.
It has echoes of a row in December 2016 when the then DUP Communities Minister Paul Givan cut funding for LIFA, an Irish language bursary scheme, a move which contributed to the resignation of the Sinn Féin Deputy First Minister Martin McGuinness and eventually the fall of Stormont. At that time, Paul Givan reversed his funding decision, but too late to prevent the collapse of the institutions. It remains to be seen what ramifications, if any, flow from this dispute. Launched today, a report commissioned by the Irish language body Conrad na Gaeilge argues that Irish has been treated as a bargaining chip to appease unionists in discussions about Irish unity.
Irish language speakers and those who are sympathetic to the language are looking towards Irish unity now as an opportunity to put the Irish language at the very heart of a new political agreement, and I think that is a brilliant and exciting opportunity, not just for those of a nationalist or a Republican persuasion, but for everybody across the board and all of the people who've moved to Ireland in recent years too.
Unionists, particularly those at Stormont, may well disagree. Gareth Gordon, BBC Newsline.
Now, 2 old Ulster buses with more than 1 million miles of journeys between them have been bought by a 22-year-old transport enthusiast. Luke Wilson from Newtownabbey recently passed his bus test to be able to drive the vehicles as well as preserve them. Our community correspondent Mark Simpson has been to meet him.
It's a dream come true for Luke Wilson. Not just owning 2 Ulster buses, but being able to drive them.
It was a great journey, Mark. It was the proudest moment in my life, was passing my bus test.
You passed first time?
First time. So I was very pleased.
What would you say to people who think, if you don't mind me saying, this is all a little bit nerdy for a 22-year-old?
It's very nerdy for a 22-year-old, I actually agree with that. But at the end of the day, I could be putting my money in worse places. At least I've something to show for it. It's preserving what I went to school and what I travelled on before they're all scrapped and all we have left is photographs and videos.
Luke recently brought his 2 old vehicles to a coach and bus rally at Cultraw near Hollywood. Do you ever take them out just for fun?
Yep.
Tell us about that. Who goes out and where do you go?
Just me and my friends. We usually go for a Chinese or something on a Saturday evening, one of them, or just for a wee jolly around the coast. Just if we're bored, I think I will take the bus out, especially if the weather's good.
Luke has spent almost £10,000 buying his 2 buses, as well as restoring and repairing them. They're more than 20 years old, so keeping them on the road is an expensive business.
The biggest thing for us is parts. Buying parts aren't cheap for these buses.
What about fuel?
You can't just put £20 in and that'll do, because £20 won't even make the gauge move slightly. It's probably about, at the moment, £400 to fill each of them. Yeah, so, and their fuel consumption's around between 8 to 9 miles per gallon when they're going well.
Luke is keen to add to his collection in the future, and he's aiming high. He's got his eye on a double-decker. Mark Simpson, BBC Newsline.
I'll take more than £400. Time for sport now. Stephen Watson will be coming live from the North Coast all week. The Northwest 200 approaches, Stephen.
Tara, thank you. One of my favourite weeks of the year. I'm here on the coastline between Portrush and Portstewart, where a mini little temporary town has exploded over the past few weeks, as it does every year. This, until Saturday, is home to some of the world's best motorcycle road racers and teams. Home for us as well, because we'll be bringing you extensive coverage across the BBC of all the practice, qualifying and races here at the Northwest 200. Now today, one of the biggest names in the sport was ruled out of the event, unfortunately. England's Davy Todd, who won a hat-trick last year, suffered serious injuries back in March as a result of a crash in Daytona. That included a broken femur and tibia, and he has been deemed unfit to ride by the Northwest 200 Chief Medical Officer. Now Todd, who has undergone extensive rehabilitation treatment in Italy, obviously disagrees, but the Northwest 200 organisers say safety is paramount.
I've offered to do whatever he wants me to do, any exercise. I can stand on one leg and jump up and down, I can do whatever you want, and most importantly I can ride a bike and ride one fast and feel good, as I did the other day, and have all the data to prove that and everything. But he wasn't interested, just the answer was no, and that was it. Even all the input from the facility, Formula Medicine, like one of the best facilities in the world I've been at for the last 6 weeks in Italy, rehabbing all the injuries. All the doctors and orthopedics and everyone was amazed at my progress. They were really happy at the position that I'm in and going forward to ride. They forwarded on their opinions, and they also don't want to listen to that either. So the answer's no, and that's it. So it's a real shame, because I was obviously looking forward to being out here at the Northwest.
Well, I'm joined by former Northwest 200 winner Lee Johnson, who's also part of our commentary team here this week. As Davy Todd says, it is a real shame, isn't it, Lee?
Yeah, it's very, very hard for racers, and I know personally what Davy's put in the last few weeks, months since his crash, and when you put all that effort in and then something like this does happen. So I fully understand from both sides, both as a rider, and then the main thing is obviously Davy's safety, and that's what's paramount right now.
Yeah, obviously the Northwest 200 have stressed, even after Davy's interview, that they're very content with the decision they've made and the decision of the Chief Medical Officer. But how big a loss is he to this event? Because he had a fabulous Northwest last year.
Yeah, I think it is a shame, and he's obviously got a lot of fans over here, and he's rode for numerous teams from Northern Ireland as well, and that is the biggest problem for what is coming up. Not to say that there isn't going to be amazing racing without him here, but yeah, it's definitely a big loss, and then obviously going ahead for him at the TT and stuff, so there's going to be big decision made in the coming weeks for both him and that team.
There is a fabulous entry here this year, Davy Todd aside, as you said. How good a Northwest 200 do you think this could be if the weather plays ball?
Yeah, and it looks like that right now, but I think there's some exciting newcomers coming as well. The likes of Storm Stacey, very, very top running BSB rider currently, which is something we haven't had for a few years. You know, someone coming right out of the top of BSB and coming here for the first time. So I don't want to put any pressure on him, but he's on good bikes with a good team and good support around him. So I would say if the weather's good, like you say, and he gets plenty of laps in, someone like that should be a name to look out for. But obviously we've got people like Dean Horace and Michael Dunlop. The names go on and on. So yeah, the racing's going to be thick and fast, so that's what we're here for.
Glenn Irwin, of course, big hometown favourite superbike champion here, returning as well.
Yeah, and the big thing of that is the fact that his year hasn't got off to a good start, so he'll be look forward to trying to kickstart his year, obviously with the bad bad round at Oulton Park. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see, and it's all the better for us as fans.
Okay, Lee, thank you very much indeed. We get underway tomorrow morning on the iPlayer and the BBC Sport website at 9:45. Now, just down the road in Ballymoney, well, it's regarded as the real home of motorcycle road racing, because it's home to the very famous Dunlop family, the 5 times world champion Joey Dunlop, and as Lee just mentioned, Michael Dunlop, who is one of the big stars here this week. Well, in the town hall, a brand new exhibition has opened, paying homage to motorcycling here and to our road racing royalty.
Well, the Dunlop dynasty, as we call it up here, is critical, and thankfully it's great. We've actually got a range of that dynasty, that family on show. So actually here we have Sam Dunlop's bike. In the other room we have William and Robert. We have their bikes on display. And of course we've a brand new Joey room, which we're hoping everybody comes to see. So it's absolutely important to us that the whole Dunlop dynasty are included in what we're actually putting on here.
And is it fair to say this is the best exhibition of motorcycle road racing there's probably ever been in the country?
I've been following road racing now for at least 40 years, Stephen, and I've never seen an exhibition like this. So I would probably boastfully say yes, I think this is probably the best exhibition of road racing ever.
Well, many of the riders who will be competing here this week were racing in the first round of the British Superbike Championship at the weekend. But 2 local riders who aren't competing here did have notable success at Oulton Park. Take a little look at this, because David Allingham from Eglinton dominated the Superstock Championship, topping both practice sessions, claiming pole and converting that into a race victory. Well done to him. And to Dungannon teenager Jack Burrows, who took his maiden victory in a shortened race in the Moto 4 Championship. Burrows was ahead on lap 10 when the race was stopped, and so he finished top of the podium for the first time. No doubt the first of many for this rising young star. Jack Burrows, just 16 years old. And finally tonight in Gaelic football, today's draw for the first round of the All-Ireland Series produced a very intriguing draw between Donegal and Kerry. Both teams met in the final last year when Kerry dominated and won their 39th All-Ireland title at Croke Park, although Donegal did get revenge in the National League final this year. Armagh host Derry, while Tyrone travel to Roscommon. Full details on the BBC Sport website. But that is it from the sunny North Coast, and Tara, we are hoping and keeping everything crossed that the weather can be good here this week. So hopefully someone in the studio can deliver good news for bike fans tonight.
Let's just see. Stephen Barra is here with the forecast, and I mean, this is for you really, Barra, isn't it? Getting the washing out.
I don't think Anne Kelly minds me showing off her washing. She did send it to me, but yeah, it was a good drying day for some of us today. And as Stephen was saying there, a lovely sunny evening along the north coast. And we do have some good news in the forecast for the Northwest 200. This was Ballycastle in today's sunshine, looking splendid. Some lovely sunshine out there for a few of us this evening. But with those clear skies, it's going to be chilly tonight, especially in parts of the west. We could see some frost developing. Temperatures here close to freezing. But along the east coast, we have the cloud coming in, bringing in some rain. That will help lift temperatures by tomorrow morning, but it will give us a bit of a damp start tomorrow along the east coast with drier, sunnier weather in the west. So this is the first picture. Some sunshine in the west, a chilly start, but at least it's sunny. We will have more cloud around in the east, bringing some patchy rain, but any rain then becomes a little bit more focused to more central areas, and here it will remain through the day with sunnier skies otherwise. Temperatures tomorrow, well, we're looking at 12 or 13 degrees, just below average for the time of year. So 1 or 2 showers continuing into tomorrow evening, but many of us will end the day on a dry note with some evening sunshine as well. Now, into tomorrow night, again, a few isolated showers. Once the sky begins to clear, temperatures for some again falling close to freezing. So a few isolated spots, especially in the west, could once again see a slight frost developing. But for most where we have the cloud cover, we're looking at temperatures tomorrow night 6 or 7 degrees, but still a cool start to the day on Thursday. As for Thursday itself, we do have a lot of dry weather in the forecast, but at times as that cloud thickens up, there's a risk of the odd isolated shower. But we are looking at a mainly dry picture on Thursday. Some early sunshine before we see that cloud building, maybe bringing a few spots of rain, especially towards parts of the west. Temperatures, though, closer to average at about 14 or 15 degrees. A few showers are in the forecast for Friday, but for the Northwest 200 races on Saturday, it's looking pretty good.
Stephen will be happy. Barra, thanks very much. That's it for now. Our late news is at 10:30. Have a good night. Bye-bye.